Good afternoon, everyone out there. My name is Ken DeSessa from Revelwood. I am joined today by Adam Riskin, who is also from Revelwood and will be doing your demonstration today. And we're grateful to be also joined by Mary Beth Rousseau, who is a customer of not only BlackLine, but of Revelwood. And she's going to do a little Q&A with us so you can hear from a person that really very recently implemented, or at least part of BlackLine, and is on that journey to implementing other things as well. So I just have an agenda. I just got really just a couple of slides. It'll take 30 seconds to run through to kind of premise what we're going to be seeing today. Then we're going to get together with our with Mary Beth and do a Q&A. And then Adam will jump into a real-time demonstration. Okay, so let's kick it off. So the real reason we're here and why BlackLine exists as a automation of the financial close tool is because within that financial close process, people are taking a ton of time, right? And it's costing a lot of money because of that. Just think about the FTE time that you might spend in the financial close, whether it be monthly, quarter, or annual. Seems to be a pretty high risk associated with it. Errors, mostly because people are using Excel and they have to import data, and it's just human nature to make mistakes. And maybe something you don't think about, it can really be crushing to the morale of a team because it may not be the most glamorous work that people want to do every day, right? So these are really the reasons and and the value of BlackLine in many ways. So think about when you look at BlackLine today, think about it as automating the activity of the financial close process. So there's tasks that you execute, but there's also those in-between steps, things like emails, checking status, those phone calls, are you done, are you complete, having to go back and check if the GL balance changed, all those sorts of things. Well, BlackLine automates a lot of that activity, and that's really where the ROI comes from. My last slide, just BlackLine by the numbers. Over 4,200 customers use BlackLine right now. That's about 300,000 users. And the average ROI that our customers are obtaining with BlackLine is about 2.77 or 2x, a little over 2x, almost 3x. And BlackLine's been a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, if you're familiar with that service that rates software, for 4 years running now. So it's a very well adapted, really a leader in the marketplace. So Adam's is going to cover with you just one slide to tell you a little bit about the modules of BlackLine, and then we're going to talk to Mary Beth.
All right, so thanks, Kenny. So BlackLine offers 8 main modules to help out with the close, and those are here listed on the screen. Now, the 3 most popular modules are the ones highlighted in blue. These help with balance sheet reconciliations, bank reconciliations, and managing your month-end close tasks. Almost all customers need help in these types of areas. So BlackLine sells these as a starters bundle, and you could be up and running with them within 2 to 3 months. Now, the other modules you see here help in areas such as P&L variance analysis, automation and approval of journal entries, and automating the posting of customer payments to customer invoices. So we just wanted to lay out what we'll be talking about through the webinar coming up here shortly.
Excellent. Thank you, Adam. All right, so let's welcome in Mary Beth. Mary Beth, all right. Mary Beth can turn her camera on for us. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Hello.
Thank you for being here, Mary Beth. So why don't you, first of all, give us an introduction. Tell us about your company and your role.
Sure. So I work for the Ironman Group, and we are a global company that manages and puts on endurance sporting events. So these include things as our iconic Ironman triathlon, but we also have events like marathon running events, like the Rock and Roll running series. We have some mountain biking, we have trail running, we have road cycling, lots of different events, and they're all over the globe. And our company, we have grown over the past 12 years or so, and we have now offices in multiple continents. So we have an office in Germany, we have an office in South Africa, in Australia, and in Asia. And then of course our corporate offices here in the US. So I'm the accounting manager over the general ledger team. And so it's our job on the general ledger team to make sure that all the entries get posted on a timely basis in time for close. And we really work with all the different regions to make sure all those entries are posted. Now, about 3 years ago or so, we had been a centralized corporate office where we were having all the regions send their journal entries to us and we would post them all. But about 3 years ago, we decided to decentralize that and have all the regions put in their own entries. So right now there's a lot of collaboration that has to be done with those regional offices to make sure everything is done timely and correctly.
Excellent. So you were managing before you implemented BlackLine, you were managing your financial close process in Excel, I believe.
Yes.
What was happening that sort of caused you to want to use any automation, or in this particular case, BlackLine?
So, as you said, pretty much everything was done in Excel. You know, we managed our month-end close process in Excel. We managed doing all of our reconciliations in Excel, even our bank reconciliations. It's very frustrating trying to do all those reconciliations in Excel. I mean, not only do you have the problem of human error, you have formula errors, you have Excel workbooks that can crash. You have just, you're so busy doing, creating the workbooks or updating the data that you don't get a chance to really step back and see the big picture and go, what's going on in these accounts, because you're so busy just doing. So we found it was just so inefficient and so hard to answer those questions, that management had, like what's going on in this account, or what's the balance, or, why is it looking like this? So we really needed to find something that would show us that big picture, that we could, one, to save time, make things more efficient, make things more accurate, and then also just be able to answer questions and address things earlier, so that like our year-end close doesn't stretch months, but we can just treat it almost like just the end of a regular month, but we're just closing the year. So that is what our goal is. And that's why we needed to find a solution, and we found BlackLine.
Great. So Adam mentioned sort of the three primary modules that people implement first: balance sheet recs, bank recs, and task management. And you implemented account reconciliations, balance sheet recs first.
Yes.
How did that go?
So it took us a while to get this off the ground. We had some internal issues, and we were trying to kind of do it on our own, I guess you could say. And we had somebody who joined the company who had worked with Revelwood before, and he was like, let's bring Revelwood on, because they will help us get this actually implemented. And so we started working with Adam, and our focus, we decided to focus just on just the account reconciliations. And I must say that Adam really helped us. He took his time to find out, what our unique needs are for our company and for doing these reconciliations. We had a lot of great meetings with him to try to brainstorm, what would be the best approach. And then he also gave us, made sure that we watched all the videos that BlackLine has. BlackLine has a ton of videos for training. So, that helped us to kind of, get us ready to go. But then of course, there's always troubleshooting. So as we're going through the process and we were running into trouble, which was good because Adam was there to help us, but he also showed us where we could get resources once he's no longer a phone call away through BlackLine support. And so I really feel like, Revelwood and Adam really helped us be set up for success. And so we've been very, very happy with the process and where we are at right now.
So, people often think of BlackLine as sort of an Excel repository. But you know, in essence, you can use it that way if you really wanted to, but it's not certainly not a best practice. Tell
Right.
us a little bit about how, you know, what you're doing.
So what we've had to do is think about, kind of step back and kind of look at what we're trying to do with BlackLine. You know, that we're not trying to just regurgitate what is in our GL, the data. We're trying to tie our GL to a source document. And so we've had to do a lot of brainstorming, a lot of thinking about what to do, how to get that information into BlackLine so it's useful for us and that we can make sure that our books are accurate. And so we've really, we've told the team, you cannot just use your Excel workbooks. Like, you have to use something, the source document that we have to go back to, that we're trying to tie to. So it's been, we have actually 30 different entities that we roll up together in a consolidated basis. And so there are a lot of accounts that we have to do to reconcile every month. And BlackLine has this, I mean, it's kind of overwhelming, a little intimidating when you look at those number of accounts, especially when we used to do multiple accounts in one workbook. But really being able to use like the global import feature where you can import the data into the Recs and they are, 90% done by the time, you input those data. We have some that just auto reconcile. It has been, kind of changing the mindset has been a little bit of, I don't want to say a challenge, but yeah, a little bit of a challenge, but I really feel like it's going to give us the best information on our accounts at the end of the day.
Thanks. So what's next for you guys and BlackLine?
Well, we have, signed up with Adam to help us with task management. That is my personal one that I really wanted to get going right away after the balance sheet Recs, because I need to know where we are at close. I mean, I have chats, I have emails coming at me all the time. I have people telling me things are ready. I just don't know where everything is. So I need one dashboard where I can go in and I can look and say, okay, this is where we are with, our merch revenue or payroll entries, whatever. So that is what we're working on right now. We also, as we're going in looking at all the options that BlackLine has, there's a lot of things that we can use. We are interested in the journal entry feature, being able to create, from our Recs, being able to create the journal entries that we have to post, or doing the transactional matching. We're looking at that. We have, with 30 entities, we have lots of intercompany going on. There's an intercompany module. I don't know if that's something that would work for our team or not, but, we are definitely looking to expand and utilize everything that BlackLine has to offer. But as I said, we have 30 entities out there. We have, multiple regions. At the corporate office, we're trying to do those Recs right now, and it's a lot. So the plan is next year, we are going to train the regions on how to do the Recs themselves. So then those regional heads, they can have a good idea as to where they stand with all their balance sheets and what's in them, what's in those accounts, and whether or not those items still need to be there.
So you're going to be pushing the BlackLine out to those regional folks.
Yes. We actually have one employee in Australia. He says he's used BlackLine before and he is excited to start using it again.
Good.
So I'm excited that I think we will have people out there who will be excited to start using this new tool. And
given the amount of time it takes, calendar time, which I think was something like 10 days, maybe, as I recall our conversation. Do you anticipate being able to reduce that time?
Yes. Yes, because we can be able to see, one of the things that would happen is because everything was done in Excel, if we wanted to see if a balance changed, we had to wait, we had to run an Excel report and then we had to check it again. This way, BlackLine, we have it set up so that our data goes out to BlackLine every 3 hours. So we just check BlackLine to see what the latest balance is. That's so much faster and easier than running a TB, which unfortunately in our system can take 10 minutes to run. So much faster.
So what would you say to the people out here that, attending our webinar today, sort of about your BlackLine experience and any advice you might give them.
So we have had varying, on our team, we've had some people who have been really excited to implement BlackLine. That would be me. And then we had somebody who's been with our team for 11 years. And she was one, I wasn't sure how she was going to take it. But we had her join the team to do the implementation, and she is our champion. She is the one who is telling everybody in the office, BlackLine is the way to go because it makes it so much easier to do our recs rather than using the Excel. But then we have the revenue team who is also, we're trying to get them to do their recs, and they were a little bit resistant because they were so caught up into how they've always been doing it. They really weren't sure what it would look like. So I sat down and had a meeting with them. I was like, look, this is some options, some things we've been able to do. And they got very excited. They're like, oh, wow, this is really going to make a difference. And so I'm working with them right now on how to kind of manipulate their data so that we can get that into BlackLine so that they will save hours of time doing their reconciliations. And that is exactly what we are looking to do, save time and get better, get a better overview of our data.
Yeah. So we often hear change management is always one of the key things for everyone in the organization. And you went through it. I think Adam would agree that most every company deals with that change management in varying ways to varying degrees, but it's always there. Well, Mary Beth, thank you very much for taking the time with us today. We certainly do appreciate it. And we are now going to, yeah, thank you. And we're going to now move on to our live demo. Adam, take it away.
All right. Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Mary Beth. All right. So, the first module we'll dive into is the balance sheet reconciliation module. Now, one of the great things about it is how much time it saves you each month. For a lot of customers, before they implemented this system, they spent 1 to 2 weeks reconciling accounts, and that's with more than one accountant. And the main reason the reconciliations took so much time was because it was manual and it was in Excel. But after they implemented BlackLine, many customers were able to cut that time in half. So let's take a look at how the module works. I actually put together a demonstration video so you can see the software in action. To start the demo, I want to give a high-level overview of how the balance sheet reconciliation module works. On an automated and scheduled basis, BlackLine imports your trial balance files from your different GL systems and use it to populate the GL balances in all your reconciliations. Then, you'll add supporting items to each rec to complete them. These can be entered by the preparer of the rec, or you can import extracts or Excel files from your subsystems containing the supporting item information. Then, BlackLine runs each rec through its auto-certification rules. These rules allow the system to complete the rec for you, so your accountants don't need to spend any time working on them. It's a huge time saver for most of our customers. And BlackLine sees that on average, 60% of reconciliations are auto-certified by the system. The recs that are auto-certified get classified as system certified. You can review them for audit purposes, but it's not required. For the recs that aren't auto-certified, the system provides many features to help accountants complete them and push them through the approval workflow. So let's see how reconciliations look like in the system. I'm currently logged in as Kim Wilson, and she's the preparer of reconciliations. The fiscal period is set to June 2023, and my demo environment is set to mimic what the start of the fiscal month might look like. This screen I'm on lists all the June reconciliations that Kim is responsible for completing, with some key information about each rec. Think of it like a summary view. For each rec, so you can see the entity and account descriptions, the GL balance and currency, Now, the balances are currently 0 because we're mimicking the start of the month, and I'll show you how they update in a bit. Who the reconciliation approver is, and what the due dates are for preparation and approval of these recs. Also notice that we can see the status of each rec. Right now, they all say not prepared because it's the beginning of the month and they haven't been started yet. So this screen gives the accountant instant visibility into all the recs they're responsible for, their status, and their due dates. This is also one screen managers can use to instantly see the status of all recs across the entire accounting team at any point in the close. And if a new employee is taking over reconciliation responsibilities, whether it be temporary or permanently, this screen would instantly show them which recs they needed to complete, really shortening the learning curve for them. Now let's see how the GL balances on each rec are automatically populated by the system. GL balances on reconciliations are automatically populated by importing trial balance files from your GL systems. This is normally a scheduled and automated process. You dictate how often the schedule process should run. Some of our customers schedule to run once a day, or others run it every few hours. Now, for a demo like this, it's really hard to show what a schedule process looks like. So what I'll do now in this screen is just manually import a trial balance file. And then afterwards, I'll show you how the GL balances were updated on our reconciliations. Now let's go back to our recs and see what they look like. So check out the GL balances on my recs. You can see that they all now have balances. So compare this to how you're probably doing these recs today. Most people we talk to are creating an Excel file for each rec, running a balance sheet report, and keying in the GL balance into each Excel sheet. Not only is it time consuming, but it's open to mistakes. A GL balance could easily be missed or even keyed in with the wrong amount. BlackLine automates the entire process, eliminating the need to spend any time on this activity and ensuring that balances on your recs are always accurate. Now, one common situation we hear often is how accountants continually check balances on their recs, even after the recs have been completed. They're worried a journal entry was late posted, causing the GL balances to change and requiring updating to the reconciliation. So BlackLine is constantly checking that this situation hasn't occurred. We talked before how the trial balance is loaded on an automated and scheduled basis. So if a journal entry is posted after a rec is completed, BlackLine recognizes that it happened and that the GL balance has changed. And it proactively sends an email notification to the preparer of the rec. And it also decertifies the reconciliation so that everyone knows it needs to be updated. It's another great automation feature that reduces your time spent on these reconciliations. Now that you've seen how the system updates the GL balances for you, let's open up a rec and look at it in more detail. Let's look at the accounts payable rec. So this is the full reconciliation and what the preparer fills out to complete it. All the recs have the same format and feel. Let's take a look at each section. The top section is where the supporting items are entered. So this is an accounts payable rec. So in this example, we're seeing all the open payable invoices at month end. But note that this section is customized to fit the specific need of the rec. So for example, prepaid expenses reconciliations usually require an amortization schedule. So for those recs, this section is going to let you create an amortization schedule. For accrued accounts, this section lets you create an accrual schedule. These are called reconciliation templates, and you pick the one for each rec that best suits your needs. This section down here, this shows me my GL balance, which was automatically populated from the trial balance file. The section here shows the difference between my GL balance and supporting items. It's a very nice visual cue to let me know if the two amounts match. This comment section lets me add any special notes about the rec. So if you're emailing management additional information about the reconciliations, that information is buried in an email inbox. It can be hard to track down in the future. Instead, you can add them right here to the face of the rec, and everyone that needs to see them knows exactly where to find them. And this section down here lets you attach any files as supporting documentations to the rec. So if documents are currently stored in emails or out on a file share, they can be time consuming to track down. So just like with comments, attach them right here to the face of the rec, and everyone knows where to find them. Also notice the standardized format of the rec. All of them have the same look and feel. You ever open Excel recs from two different accountants and the files can look very different? This makes it time consuming for a manager or auditor to understand those recs. How about a new employee taking over reconciliation responsibilities? It can be harder and time consuming on them just to wrap their heads around these Excel recs that have different looks and feels. With the standardized formats of BlackLine recs, a lot of those struggles and increased time to review, those go away. So I mentioned before that BlackLine can do all the work of completing reconciliations using its auto certification rules. Let's take a look at a few examples of those. Now, we're back at the screen that shows the reconciliations I'm responsible for preparing. I'm going to filter the list to show only the reconciliations that were system certified. So all these reconciliations that you're seeing here, these were recs that the system was actually able to complete by using its auto certification rules. I didn't have to spend any time working on them. Now let me explain a little bit more about these auto certification rules. This slide here shows some of the commonly used ones, and I'll run through them now. First is the GL balance is 0 and no journal entries were posted. So essentially, if you have an account with no activity, the system can recognize it and mark that reconciliation as complete. Amortization and accrual schedules. You create your schedules one time on the rec. The system automatically rolls forward the schedules each month, and in future months, if the scheduled balance matches your GL balance, the system marks that rec as complete. GL balance same as prior period. So if the GL balance hasn't changed from last month, the system can mark it as complete. Intercompany accounts total 0. So you can add all your due to and due from accounts onto one reconciliation. And if the balance is net to 0, the system can mark that one as complete. And lastly, if the GL balances match your subledger balance or a bank balance, the system can recognize that as well and mark that reconciliation as complete. These auto certification rules are just a huge time saver for BlackLine users. So I'm back at the list of auto certified reconciliations. Now, as the preparer, I didn't need to spend any time working on these recs. And remember, on average, BlackLine's customers see 60% of their reconciliations auto-certified by the systems. That's an immediate reduction in time spent on your recs your entire accounting team will benefit from. So let's take a look at a few auto-certified recs. The first one I'll open is the accounts receivable rent reconciliation. Now, in this rec, the GL balance was 0. So pretty simple here. The system was able to recognize it, and it auto-certified it using its all balances 0 auto-cert rule, which you can see here in the upper left. The next one I'll show is the prepaid insurance rec. Now, this rec contains an amortization schedule. The supporting item section on the screen is showing a summary of that amortization schedule. To see the full schedule, I'll click on the roll forward link. And now you're seeing the schedule in its more traditional format, where you can see each prepaid item, the started ending amortization date, and the amortization by month. So this schedule here is telling me that for June, my GL balance should be $24,000. If I go back to the rec, the $24,000 schedule balance is also listed here, and I can see that it matches the GL balance. So the system was able to recognize that, and it auto-certified the rec for me. Now, the process that you just saw here would work exactly the same for an accrual schedule. You create the schedule, and if the scheduled balance in a future month matches the GL balance, that rec will auto-certify as well. Now, let's take a look at how supporting items are added to a reconciliation. I'm back at the screen showing the list of my reconciliations, and I'm going to open up my federal tax withholding rec. There's three main ways to add supporting items. The first way is the preparer keying them in. So let's walk through an example. I'll click on my Add Supporting Item link. And this is the screen where we enter all the supporting item details. So let's say I have 2 pay periods in the month. My payroll system tells me what the withholding is for both pay periods, and I'll add both now. The withholding for the first pay period is $13,000. I have some user-defined fields down here where I could add additional information about the supporting item. You can make these description whatever you like. But in my example, I have a field to store the journal entry number, so I'll add that here. And then in the description, I'll note that this was the withholding for pay period June 15th. And now you can see the first supporting item is right here. Let's add it for the second pay period. And for this description, I'll mention it's for June 30th. To complete the rec, I can add comments or attach a document, but it's optional. And the last step here is to click the certify button right down here. You'll notice for the rec, the status has changed to prepared, which means that it's now moved into the approver's workflow queue. And now the approver can go in and review it and then mark it as approved. So let's look at the second way to enter supporting items for a rec. As the reconciliation preparer, I can always upload an Excel file with supporting items. Now, I've reset my tax withholding reconciliation, and here's the Excel file I'll upload. It's an example of the tax withholding details, but this time broken down by department. So when you have a large list of supporting items, loading them from an Excel file can save you a ton of time. So let's go ahead and load it. So I'm back on my rec, and this time I'll click the import link to start the process. We'll click the browse button to go out and find the Excel file. I'll tell the system that I want to import all the records from my Excel file, and then click the import button. And look at that. Now my rec has all the supporting items. I can see the pay period, department, and description of each item. I can quickly see my totals by pay period. I can also quickly see my totals by department. But all that's left is to scroll down and click the certify button, and now this reconciliation is complete. So the third way to add supporting items is through a mass upload file. The difference between this method and the one I just showed you is that the file can contain supporting items for multiple reconciliations. So you can update supporting items for many recs just by uploading one single file. Let's take a look at an example. So in this example here, I have 5 accounts receivable reconciliations, one for each entity in my ERP system. Now our ERP system can produce one single file containing all the open customer invoices across all our entities. And this is what that file looks like. This file has over 2,300 invoices on it. So it's a good size file with a lot of records. Now let's go import it. So now we go and find our load file, and we'll import it. Now keep in mind that even though we're manually importing this file right now, this whole process can be scheduled and automated to run on a regular basis, the same way that we're importing the trial balance file. Now let's go take a look at our recs. I'll open up my rec for entity 10,000. And I can see all the customer invoices were automatically populated. Let's just look at one more. Let's look at entity 20,000. Okay. And same thing, you can see all the invoices, the customer invoices for this entity were populated as well. Now, one other very important piece happened here from uploading the invoices. Remember the auto certification rules I talked about before? How the system can actually complete recs for you? They kicked in here. The total of the customer invoices for each entity matched the GL balances on the reconciliations. So the system recognized that and marked all 5 recs as complete. That's why they all have a status of system certified. So the 10 seconds spent importing the file with invoices, that actually completed all these reconciliations. Let's just take another quick look at one so you can see it. So here's all your loaded invoices right here. You can see that it totals up to $3.3 million. GL balance is also $3.3 million. So the system can recognize that and mark this rec as complete. Now, compare this to how you're probably doing these recs today in Excel. The accountant typically has to go into the ERP system, run a sales agent report, export it out to a PDF or Excel file, copy and paste it into the Excel file of the reconciliation, and then repeat it for each entity. That is so much more time consuming than the mass import method that I just showed you. And the situations you can use this method to upload supporting items is endless. You could load journal entries or fixed asset details, or payable invoices or payroll details. Any situation where you have a large number of supporting items, you can just do a mass upload into the system. So that completes the demo of the balance sheet reconciliation module. I'll go back to the slide deck now. So let's finish out the reconciliation module with just reviewing its key benefits. GL balances are automatically populating the reconciliations, and the system automatically checks for late posted journal entries after the reconciliation is completed. All your reconciliations and supporting items are in one location, and the system can actually complete some of your reconciliations for you. Okay, so that completes the overview of the balance sheet reconciliation module. Now let's jump to the second core module, the transaction matching module. Now, when we're talking about transaction matching, we're talking about matching records from one data source to another. And the most common example is a bank reconciliation. And to help explain the transaction matching module, let's look at a sample bank rec. This is how most companies do it today in Excel. They take the general ledger and bank data, dump them out to an Excel file, put them out side by side, and then match records one by one. So I got check number 54282 for $500 on my bank statement. Let me go find that on my GL. And when it's found, I either cross it off or I change it to a color. Just a very manual and time-consuming process. Now here's how the transaction matching module can help. On a schedule basis, the GL system creates a journal entry file and your bank creates a bank transaction file. Both of them are imported into BlackLine on an automated and scheduled basis. Then the system runs the files through its matching engine. And this is where the magic happens. BlackLine automatically matches your journal entries to your bank transactions. And most of our customers see 90% of their transactions automatically matched. Transactions the system automatically match go into the match bucket. And for the transactions left over, the system has all kinds of features to help you match them or mark them as an outstanding item on your final bank-to-book report. So try to picture it. The system can match over 90% of your transactions. Your team only has to spend time on the remaining 10%. So you'll spend less time completing the rec and have more time for analyzing exceptions. Now, to see the transaction matching module in action, I have a demonstration video for that as well. So let's take a look. What you see on the screen now are transactions for an operating account reconciliation. And these have been preloaded into the system. It includes both depository and disbursement transactions. The left side shows the bank transactions, and the right side shows the journal entries. Now, the loading of these transactions can be fully automated, where the system automatically imports on a scheduled basis. And it can be as frequent as several times a day if you want. No human steps are required. Now let's look at the logic needed to reconcile this account. We have some AP checks here, where if the check number and the amount are the same, the transactions match. We have some deposits here, where if the amount, date, BAI code, and document type are the same, the transactions are matched. We have the total amount of multiple ACH journal entries matched to one withdrawal on the bank statement. We have the total amount of multiple ZBA bank credits matched to the total amount of multiple journal entries. And maybe the most impressive feature, the system can look for any combination of bank transactions that sum up to the same amount as a journal entry. Now, all this logic that we just saw, it can be set up in the system, so the system can automate and do all this matching work for you. BlackLine calls these pass rules. You can create as many as you want. You can utilize all the fields in your bank and journal entry files in your matching logic, and they're really easy to set up. So let's take a look at some of those pass rules. Here's those 5 pass rules set up in the system. Let's take a look at the pass rule to match our AP checks. First, I tell the system which records are AP checks. On my bank side, BAI code 475 represents a check. And if you're not using BAI codes or aren't familiar with them, there are other ways to flag a transaction as an AP check. On my journal entry side, it's an entry with a document type of PMCHK. Then I tell the system that the amounts and the check numbers of the bank and journal entries need to be the same to mark them as a match. And it's really as simple as that. So now that we've seen an overview of the setup, let's actually run these pass rules and see this automation in action. I'm putting these screens side by side to help here. The right screen contains all my bank and journal entry transactions for the month. I have 212 bank transactions and 237 journal entries, about 500 in total. Keep those numbers in the back of your head for a minute. Now, I'll click the button that reconciles these transactions using the 5 pass rules. Note that although you see me clicking buttons for each step, these steps can be automated. I'm just manually doing it that way for this demo because it helps people understand how the system works. So the system is finished reconciling these transactions. So after refreshing the screen, notice how most of the records are gone. That's because the system just matched them. The only remaining transactions are the exceptions. So picture this in your current world. The system is scheduled to do this work daily, weekly, or monthly, but it runs at night, and it matches 90 to 95% of your transactions. Your team comes into work in the morning, opens the system, and comes to this screen. And they only need to research these remaining exceptions. Picture the time saved with this approach. Now your team can spend more time on researching the exceptions instead of just finding them, or have more time to spend on other projects and initiatives. Picture the ability to identify discrepancies immediately instead of waiting till month end, or completing your recs before the close instead of after. The benefits are endless. Also, note that I'm using a small number of transactions in this demo because it makes it easier to follow, but the system can easily handle hundreds of thousands of records if that's what you have. Now, here's how to handle the remaining exceptions. In this example, we have these 2 deposits the system didn't match. It's because my bank transactions had a date of June 5th, but the associated journal entry date was June 25th. I told my pass rules to ignore them because the dates were so far apart. But that's okay, because I can match them from this screen. I click on my 2 bank transactions and 2 journal entries. Now, check out this section of the screen. It's my helper. It's showing that the 2 bank items I clicked totaled $17,500, and the 2 journal entries I clicked were also $17,500. And the difference here is obviously 0. This helps me to know that the exceptions I'm matching in the screen are the same amounts. The last step is to click the match button. And now those transactions are gone from this screen because they're matched. All that's left are these remaining checks in my journal entry transactions. These are outstanding checks that haven't cleared the bank yet. Here's the steps to mark them as outstanding at the end of the month. I click on all the checks, come over here and click the Create Item button. So I mark these as outstanding items. So all that's left to do is go and review my final bank to book report. So here's my final report. At the very top, you can see a full audit trail of your bank and journal entry transaction matches. If I click on the automatic link, this shows me all the transactions the system's matched for me. For example, if I click on this match right here for my ZBA credits, I could see on the top the 5 bank transactions that match to the 2 journal entries on the bottom. And the sum of both total $350,000. The bank balance is automatically populated for you when you load the bank files. So you don't need to spend time keying them in, and you know they're always accurate. These are the supporting items we just flagged a few minutes ago. Here's the GL balance. This gets imported directly from your general ledger system, so you don't need to key in those amounts either. The unidentified difference, this is my bank balance, less outstanding checks, less GL balance. 0 means that my report is in balance. And notice these 2 sections down here. I have a comment section where I can enter any specific comments about this reconciliation. And in this section, I can attach any documents, like a copy of my bank statement. And the beauty of this is that all the information about your reconciliation is here in one single screen that everyone knows how to access. No need to search through a file share to find the different documents anymore. Also, all your bank recs, no matter which user prepares them, is always in this standardized format. It's much easier for managers to review, and you can just give your auditors access to your system instead of spending time emailing them a ton of documents. Okay, so keep in mind that although this module is commonly used for bank reconciliations, it can automate any scenario where you're matching records from multiple files. Note all the other listed examples of how the module can be used, and it can actually match records up to 3 data sources. So you can use it to reconcile your journal entries to any subledger, or even a 3-way match between your credit card statements, bank statement, and journal entries. So if you're spending time manually matching transactions in Excel, BlackLine can save you most of that time by doing the work for you. Okay, now the third module we'll talk about is the task management module. Most companies use it to track their month-end close tasks. Now, most companies track close tasks in Excel today. They have a list of tasks, who's responsible for completing them, and date that they're due in an Excel file. And the challenge is that anyone can make changes to that file, users can enter incorrect completion dates, and there's no notification if a task becomes overdue. Also, management doesn't have that instant visibility into what's been completed. You have to reach out to the team asking for status updates, and it becomes time-consuming on the accountants to constantly provide those updates. So let's take a look at how the task management module works. Now, here's what a closed task list looks like in BlackLine. It shows all the tasks, who's responsible for completing them, and when it's due. Now, as an accountant, you can quickly see all the tasks you're responsible for completing. This gives you that instant visibility into what still needs to be completed at month end. And if you're out on PTO or leave the company, the new person taking over knows exactly what needs to be done. Now, for managers, your screen contains the tasks for your entire team. So this is one way that managers get that instant visibility into their team's tasks. They can see what's left to be completed and who's responsible for completing it. No more need to have those status meetings or email updates anymore, because the information is instantly available in the system. Now, like I mentioned before, managers have instant visibility into the status of all closed tasks and reconciliations. Another tool managers can use in the system is its robust reporting engine. The system comes with over 60 out-of-the-box reports. And if they don't fit your specific needs, you can always update them as needed. So let's take a look at one. Here's a report that gives a real-time view of the closed tasks. It lists each task by accountant and the status, so you can easily see if it's been completed. The report can be customized by each manager to fit their specific preference. The point is that managers can access this information immediately. Now, compare this to how you're tracking tasks today in Excel. This type of information isn't available instantly. You got to reach out to your team for updates, taking up your valuable time and theirs. So these reports are much more efficient. And I just want to mention that although the main use for the task management module is to track your closed tasks, it can be used for any checklist that you have. You're seeing a list of other use case scenarios on the screen. Some use it to track the list of auditor requests at the year-end audit. Others use it to track project lists, new acquisition checklists, or tax filing tasks. The use cases are endless. Okay, all right, so that concludes today's webinar. I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to join today. If you have any direct questions, please feel free to email us at info@revelwood.com. Also, we'll be reaching out for a quick 15-minute introduction call. We hope you can accept that meeting and have a quick conversation with us. Thanks again, everyone.